This is Support is Sexy, episode 411, and we're continuing our series on money moves. This is part 2, identifying your zone of genius. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elaine Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm super excited to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. And I am super excited about our event coming up on Monday, February 19th. If you're listening to this anytime before then, you have time to get your tickets to the Support is Sexy Vision Board Workshop. Vision Board Party, Vision Board Good Time. Monday, February 19th. If you're in Atlanta, I want you to go to supportissexyvision.com so you can get your tickets. We're going to have a day where we are, yes, creating your vision board, but also talking about what you really want. What is your vision and what do you need to let go of so you can really move forward powerfully? We have some exercises and some other great things that are going to be going on that day. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be fun, productive, creative, powerful. Supportissexyvision.com. Now, today we are continuing our series on money moves. Yesterday, we talked about creating your vision. Part of vision, of course, and activating that vision when you're thinking about your business, but creating your money moves, creating ways that you can make revenue in your business. You have to have a vision, right, for what that business is going to be, what it could potentially be, the possibility, which of course is my word for the year. So we spoke about all of that yesterday. And at the end of that episode, I also challenged you to take one completely imperfect step forward. Whatever you were going to do, take one imperfect step towards your vision. So if you heard that episode and you haven't done that yet, you're behind, unless you're binging. If you're binging and listening to them one after the other, okay, I'll give you a little bit of a grace period. But think about what is that imperfect step you're going to take forward. You have to get over that fear of it not being perfect. And you have to get over that fear of just not doing it. You have to go ahead and do it. So take that step. Now, today we're going to talk about, again, identifying your zone of genius. And this is for you if you are, well, certainly if you are in the new stages or that you have an idea, you're thinking about your business, maybe you're reshaping your business, maybe you're adding something new to your business as a service or offering or product, something else you want to add to the business. Or if you're in a full-time job and you're thinking about what can I create that will be my own, either if you're staying in that job, which is fantastic, all about that. Your employer can be your investor. If you're staying in that job, or if you're thinking about retiring, or if you're thinking about, I want to leave this position, maybe you're younger and just starting out, there are a lot of different reasons to identify your zone of genius as it relates to business. And this relates to a money move, generating revenue eventually when you determine what is your zone of genius. So actually, that's a great segue into our first item on the list. If you are someone who is working a job, or you just left a position, or you're thinking about leaving a position, don't think that it has to be something completely different from what you've done before. It might be counterintuitive to even hear that. Some people think, well, of course, I'm going to do a business that is along the lines of the work that I've been doing for however many years. Not necessarily, at least in my experience. People that I speak to, for some reason, they're thinking about a business that is completely different from their past experiences, or they're thinking their experience in a certain job won't apply to their business, or they can't create a business out of some experience, expertise, skills that they had in a certain job. So that is the first thing I want you to think about. Maybe it's not an exact structure of the position that you have now, certainly not the same title, because if you start a business, you're going to be a founder, right? CEO, creator of this business, not a certain position that you have. But how can you adapt some of those skills to use them in your business and to possibly discover your zone of genius? Maybe it's not the whole of your position, but what is it in your job maybe that you love doing? Or what is it in your job or your past job? When I say in your job, this isn't just if you're employed now, but in a past position or past experiences, In school, if you're in school, what is it that was really something that you were great at, a segment of something that you can hone in on? We talked about that yesterday, right? In yesterday's episode, tapping into what can you double down on. So think about what area, what segment of whatever you did, maybe it was the whole of it, but is there a piece of it that you were really great at? For me, certain things that I've done in the past, administration and those kind of things, I don't love that. I don't love doing all the accounting and all that stuff. I'll pay somebody for that. I don't even love social media other than the fact that I get to connect with all of you at Elaine Fluker, at Support is Sexy. I love connecting with all of you, but having to post every day, oh, that's not my favorite thing to do. But I do love writing. I do love communicating. So that is something that was something I used, well, from childhood, really. I've always loved to write. Then in my position as an editor at magazines and website, something I've always loved to do. Now in my company, it's something I do certainly through podcasting, through writing all of these incredible profiles of these women featured, and as a communicator. So through communications and consulting and helping other people be able to do those things. So that is my zone of genius, but it's all based on past positions, past experiences that I brought into the job that I have now. So for you, whatever job, experiences, all of that is in one. How can you adopt or adapt any of those things into creating this business that you want to create, or this new move that you're making, this new money move that you're making? Another thing I want you to remember too when it comes to your skills and experiences, when you're thinking about your zone of genius, even though I know we spoke about the one thing and I talk about the one thing a lot, what's the one thing you're going to focus on to move forward? Don't, though, make it an either or situation when it could be a both and situation. I did a podcast episode on that. Go to supportisexypodcast.com and search either or. That episode will come up. But again, don't make it an either or situation when it could be a both and. This is related to your zone of genius. This isn't saying do everything, all of your skills, everything has to go into or become your business. But I would say keep in mind that there might be a few things that will work together to make this work for you. So for me, again, communications and writing and editing and all of those things are part of my zone of genius, are part of what I was able to package and offer to people, knowing how to tell stories, storytelling. It wasn't either or. Either I'm a podcast host or I'm a communications person, or either I'm a media coach or I'm this. No, all of those things are part of my experiences. It's a both and situation, and I'm able to package it in different ways depending on the customer. So for you, as you're envisioning your area, your zone of genius, don't necessarily make it an either or if you have skills in different area. In fact, you know I'm all about it. Get a piece of paper, write them all down, and then we'll talk about later how you can package those things that fill out your zone of genius and that become something you can offer to customers, clients, people that you're working with, and that will eventually generate revenue for your business. But don't cut anything out right now if you're in those early stages, or even if you're reinventing, like I talked about with girlonpodcast.com, when I was thinking about, or in the space of thinking of what else could I create to accompany Support is Sexy that is aligned with what I really want to do, what my brand is all about, creating spaces for women to share their stories. This idea for a booking service, which is not necessarily within the space of what I wanted to do, but my zone of genius is connecting people, bringing people together, and really helping women have areas to share their stories. So I know someone with a great story. I know a podcast host who's fantastic. I put those two together. I know someone in media who's great, someone with a great story. I put those two together. So that was something that I do naturally. It's something that I enjoy. And now it's something that I packaged and offered as a service to people who really want to take advantage of that expertise. So again, all of these things work together within your zone of genius. Here's another idea I love for finding your zone of genius. The book by Dr. Srini Pillay, Tinker, Dabble, Doodle, Try. You have to read that book. In fact, if you want to get free copy of it on Audible. It's available on Audible. Go to freesupportissexybook.com. You get a 30-day free trial with Audible, access to over 180,000 books, including Tinker, Dabble, Doodle, Try by Dr. Serini Pillay. So no excuses. You can go get that book right now, freesupportissexybook.com. But I mention all of that because this idea of tinkering, dabbling, doodling, pivoting whenever you need to, experimentation. Don't be afraid of these things when you're looking for discovering your zone of genius. You have to be able to dabble in different things and see what works, see what feels good for you, see what you want to move forward. I believe we do a lot of different things, but something moves out in front. That's what happened with Support is Sexy podcast. I had all these other ideas of things I wanted to do. Once I decided that this was going to be it, I really doubled down on it. Say it with me. I doubled down on it. But when I was discovering what I wanted to do with my business at the time in 2015 or so, before it became a podcast, I was tinkering, dabbling, doodling, trying things, experimenting. So don't be afraid to do that when you're discovering your zone of genius, or again, if you're reinventing and thinking of a way to pivot. Give some thought to the things that you love to do, the things that come easy to you, and don't be afraid to dabble in this and that until you find the thing that's going to be your one thing. And within all that, we always say this: live the question. Don't look for the exact answer to come to you right away. Maybe it will, because you're so brilliant, and I don't mean that in any kind of way. Honestly, you're so brilliant. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here listening to the podcast. So maybe it will come to you right away. Maybe you've always known what you wanted to do. But if not, it's okay. Live the question. Don't be afraid to live the question while you're tinkering, dabbling, and doodling and experimenting. The answer to what you're supposed to do to move forward will come to you, but you have to be in action. Living the question doesn't mean sitting back and waiting for the answer. At least that's my interpretation. It means being open, being active, moving in a direction that you think it is, moving in a direction you think it is, but being open to the answer to reveal itself along the way. Don't want to get too woo-woo, but I believe this is part of Money Moves. It goes into it. You're discovering. You have to be open to discovery. You have to be open to the possibility. So within that, you get to live the question. Now, also, when you're discovering your zone of genius, think about what has worked for you in the past year. And we talked about that in yesterday's episode when we spoke about doubling down, mentioning that again. But really, what has worked for you in the past year? Is there something that you did? Is there something that you tried? Is there something that you love doing? Whether that relates to your skills, whether that relates to some experience that you had, whatever it is, write that down. What has worked for you in the last year? Whether it was some other way of being. We talked about that too. Maybe you tried something different as far as your personality or how you were going to respond to things, how you reframe things, anything like that. Write that down, because even those experiences, they're not a tangible skill necessarily, or something tangible you can offer to someone, but it is something that you can offer to someone. Maybe your experience can be packaged in a way that is a service to someone, whether that's a coach, a consultant, whatever that is. So don't discount it, right? Not either or, it's both and. Maybe that experience could be something that leads to something. So write that down as a way of tapping into your zone of genius. The next idea is, and this is something that we touched on a little bit earlier, what comes easily to you that others around you might seem to struggle with? For me, writing, communications, messaging, knowing how to express myself to other people, how to deliver a message in a way that's careful and constructive, and all of those great things, those are valuable skills. Who knew, right? Me and my sensitive self. Those are valuable skills when they're packaged and offered to someone as a service in a smart, valuable way. We'll talk about packaging later. But just letting you know, those are things that can be packaged. So for you, what are some things that come easily to you that you notice that others might struggle with? Now, you might not be able to tell that just from thinking about it and think, well, what does everybody else have a hard time doing that I do easily? Well, one of the sayings that I really love, you can't read the label from inside the jar. So what I want you to do is ask someone else, what they think you're great at. What is something that you think that I do that's fantastic? Or what is some way that you've seen me help other people? Tell people that you're looking for some new ideas of things that you can do creatively or things that you can get into. People that you trust, people that you know well. These might be people who know you personally or people with whom you work. If they're people that you're confident in at your job or wherever you are, your school, ask them, what's something that you think I'm great at? Or what's something that I've helped you with that I don't even remember? Most people love sharing their opinions, so go ahead and ask them to weigh in. Some of it you'll take, some of it you won't, but you never know. It might spark some idea in you. It might be something, I bet you actually, I'd put money on it. It'll be some things in there that you probably never even thought of. And this way you'll have something to respond to internally. Of course, you want to take it in and check in with yourself and see if it makes sense for you, if it's something you want to do. But at least give yourself something to respond to, because hopefully you're surrounded by some great people. You know, support is sexy. So ask the people around you in your circle to help you go through this change, this evolution. You're thinking about what to do next. You want to know some ideas of what they think you're good at doing. Another question to ask yourself comes from Jenny Blake, author of the book Pivot. I love her book and I love her podcast of the same name, the Pivot Podcast. She asks, when are you most in your zone? So we're talking about your zone of genius, but when are you just in your zone in general? What's the thing that you can do all night long? Time goes by, you don't even care or you don't even realize it. What is the thing that you do when you're most in your zone? That is a question to ask yourself too. What feels great for you is really what it is. What feels great for you, not that it's something at work or maybe it is, or something personal or maybe it isn't, but what feels good for you? When do you feel like you're most in your zone? When you're undisturbed by people or if you're working with a team? Is that the time you feel like I got this? I'm in my zone. I'm in my flow. I'm in my purpose. This is it. This could be or is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it might be, as I said, just a little segment of it. It might not be the whole of what you're doing, but where is that sweet spot for you where your passion and your skills come together? Where is that sweet spot? Think about that. Write those things down. In the past year or even in the past 3 months, when have you felt like you were most in the zone? Another way to identify your zone of genius, and I'm sure you've heard this before. In fact, I know we've probably spoken about this before. People often ask, what would you do for free? Well, I don't say that. I say, what would you love to get paid to do, right? Doing things for free. Hey, that's great. If you love it, you do it for free. Fantastic. But when you're trying to discover, especially when you're talking about money moves, right? When you're trying to discover your zone of genius, ask yourself, maybe you ask, what would you do for free? But then what would you love to get paid to do? I would love to sit on a beach and write books all day. I would love to do that. I would love just to get paid to do the podcast. I would love a lot of things. So would you love to be an interior decorator to create spaces and decorate gorgeous ideas and things for people's homes, offices, or what would you love to get paid to do? Think about that. That thing where you might say, I can't believe they're paying me to do this, right? Ask yourself that. What is the thing I would love to do where I can't believe they're going to pay me to do this because it's come so easily to me or because I love doing it so much? That is a sweet spot. That is a zone of genius. Now, at the end of the last episode, I gave you a challenge, taking that one imperfect step toward your vision. Here's what I want you to do after this episode. What is one test that you can do today to take that first step? What is one test that you can do where you're tinkering, dabbling, doodling, whatever you're doing? Is there something? No, not is there. What is the one test, if you will, that you can do to see if this is something that is within your zone of genius, to see if this is something that later you can package? You have these ideas written down. You've spoken to other people. You've thought about where you felt most in your zone. Pick something on that list and give it a try. Try it as a service to someone. Maybe it's a small beta group that you tell that they'll get a discounted fee or something for free if they promise to give you feedback on whatever you're offering. That's a great way to start a new business. That's a great way to test the waters. Again, if you're just starting out or you're reinventing, this is something I did with Girl On Podcast. I sent it out to a group of women who were on the show before, who were on the Support is Sexy podcast. Now, they weren't a beta group, but they were the first group that I reached out to officially to say, hey, this is a service I'm offering. Is this something that you'd be interested in? And the response has been overwhelmingly positive, which is fantastic. So is there a small group of people that you can email? Friends, or do you have an email list, which you should be building either way? Have an email list that you can pick a few people who are active in your group or in your Facebook group or on your Facebook page. There's all kinds of ways for you to test things to see if it can work, to see how you feel doing it. Not even just the response from people, which of course is important, but also how do you feel doing this? Is this something that you can do day to day that you will eventually package and turn into something that is a service or product for people? What's one test you can do today? Now, a great book that I suggest actually for something like this is Will It Fly by Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn, his podcast is actually the first podcast that I ever subscribed to, Smart Passive Income. He wrote this book, Will It Fly, that is all about testing and validating your idea. He talks about smart ways to validate before you go all in. So I'm talking about identifying your zone of genius, but I'm not talking about going all in just yet until you decide this is the space, this is where I'm really going to give this a try. This is great for when you're in that early stage of how to create a new business or adding other options to your business or thinking about other services, all of that great stuff, even to an existing business. If that's you, check out Will It Fly by Pat Flynn. Fantastic book. Definitely recommend it. All right, so this was just a few ways for you to identify your zone of genius, finding out what you're going to do moving forward to create that new business, reinvent yourself, add some options to your existing business, and make money moves to create revenue options for you and your business. Now, in tomorrow's episode, we're going to talk about creating your buckets for revenue. So we talked about creating the vision. What is it that I really want? Where am I going? Now we talked about identifying your zone of genius. What am I going to try? What space am I going to be in? What am I going to move forward with? What's that tangible thing that I'm going to identify and move forward with? And then tomorrow we talk about creating those buckets for revenue, what that looks like, how you can price it, and all of that great stuff. So thank you so much for being here. Make sure if you're in Atlanta or you plan to be in Atlanta on Monday, February 19th, that you go to supportissexyvision.com so you can be there for our vision board party. It's going to be fun. It's going to be productive like this, going through some important points, things for you to consider, and of course, write down so that you can identify your gift and your vision for this year moving forward. Make sure you go to supportissexyvision.com. I want to see you there. All right. So thank you as always for being here. You know, I appreciate you. And until we chat again, you know what to do. Always remember that you deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.